Hi everybody! The expert at anything was once a beginner. Today that's what we're going to talk about.
I remember starting to learn theory in stenography school 20 years ago. I was so slow, but I took the advice of a court reporter who wrote in her book that we should focus on accuracy above speed. Indeed, that speed would come with accuracy. When I got to speed building, my instructor lent me a broken manual steno machine, to use at home for practice. It did not have a tripod, so I stacked it on top of some books and sat Indian style, legs crossed, on the ground to use it for practice. I remember occasionally having to look at my fingers to see if they were on the right keys, but trying to go by memory and just feel for the right positions. Like piano, you're not supposed to look at your fingers hitting the keys, so I tried hard not to. But occasionally it was necessary. When you practice on a broken manual steno machine, there's zero feedback from the CAT software. That's computer-aided transcription software system to tell you that you're hitting the correct keys. So I had to be very slow and intentionally accurate. I never hit a key combination until I knew my fingers were in the correct position. That meant that it may have taken a full 5 seconds for one combination to be pressed down, but I just tenaciously stuck with the rule to be accurate above pushing for speed. This was the way I practiced all through school and through my career as well. And it is the reason that my muscle memory has not been corrupted by sloppy writing. Imagine a fetus growing cells in the womb. Would it make sense to rush it to grow faster because other people were already running around on playgrounds in the real world? Of course not. You'd say to the fetus, be sure to focus on accuracy and growth will come in time. As if we could control anything the fetus does, LOL. But you get the point. Accuracy is more important than speed. Speed will come when accuracy has been practiced enough. Today, I'm 20 years into this amazing journey of a career in stenography and considered an expert. But the expert at anything was once a beginner. And I remember those early days very well. Having to stop every few words of a sentence to look up a word in my StenEd professional real-time dictionary to see which outline I had chosen to be the one and only outline for that word. Because the key to speed is to have only one steno outline per word. If you have a choice of more than one, that choice will produce a hesitation and slow you down. With multiple hesitations, like forks in the road, your speed will be terrible. That was another piece of advice from that book I read that was written by the court reporter. She said, have only one steno outline per word. That's what made it so slow at the beginning, because I could not remember which way I had chosen to write a word and had to look it up in the dictionary. But the dictionary shows multiple ways that you can stroke each multisyllabic word, because it's the real-time dictionary telling you what's possible, not what you should do. So for each multisyllabic word, I would just put a little triangle next to the steno outline that I had chosen to be the one I would stick with and use every time. You see how intentional you have to be to memorize the same single way to type every word? That's the secret sauce. That's what the expert looked like as a beginner. Accuracy above speed. And only one steno outline per word. Always. The expert at anything was once a beginner. I remember learning odds and ends as a stenographer on the job. For instance, one day in a landscape architecture class, I was surprised to hear the instructor explain why people suffer so much from allergies. Because what happens is that the trees are lined with, not the trees, the streets are lined with all male trees. That give pollen, and no female trees to accept the pollen. Because then they would produce berries, and they would make a mess on the streets. So that's why we suffer allergies from pollen instead. But imagine for a second if we didn't care about the beautiful uniform look of our streets, having the same kinds of trees lining the roads. What if instead there were fruit trees grafted with different kinds of fruits that could feed the hungry for free? And we wouldn't have nearly as bad of an allergy problem come springtime, because the pollen would actually have a place to go. That would be so cool. I think New Zealand is doing that now. Streets lined with fruit trees for the community to have food security. Free food growing right there on the streets for everybody to take. Wow, what a concept. Recently, my Facebook friend commented that she had really bad allergies, and I was able to tell her it was because the landscape architects had lined the streets with nothing but male trees producing pollen. And that's why everybody has such bad allergies. She put an emoji of a wow face. Yep, she probably learned something new too that she had never thought of. That's how I felt when I first heard it. Wow. One day, in a med school class, the instructor, who was also an obstetrician in real life, said that pregnancy is a very hard thing on the body. She said she wanted to write a book someday about how hard pregnancy and childbirth is for women. I knew it was bad, but hearing her say that made me learn something new, that it's worse than I ever thought it was. The expert at anything was once a beginner, and all along the way we learn new things. There's so much knowledge in the world that you can never know it all. Recently, I was on the phone talking with my friend, who said her son had kidney stones, and the doctor said it can be as painful as giving birth to a child. That was something I had never heard of. Kidney stones? As painful as childbirth? Wow! So I asked my friend, who had 3 kids, if she had ever had kidney stones, and if so, were they as bad as giving birth? here's what she texted me in reply. As someone who gave birth with labor twice and C-section for the third, I would say some kidney stones that I have had were worse than birth. And I replied, oh, so it's true. Learning something new every day. Of course, it depends on what size of kidney stones they are, and that can be as painful as childbirth, but still, it amazed me to learn that. The expert at anything was once a beginner, and I'm about to become a beginner again. If you're a lifelong learner and love learning, stenography is a good career for you. I just bought a bunch of books about court reporting because court reporting is possibly a good thing to transition into for career longevity. Do you remember the video where I talked about the 3 branches of stenography? Court reporting, broadcast captioning, and cart captioning? Well, artificial intelligence is like a disease affecting the tree of stenographic careers. It has decimated all the jobs on the broadcast captioning branch. Those captioners have migrated into the cart captioning branch, causing a dilution of job opportunities for stenographers here. And we are now looking to all become court reporters, where there are more jobs than people qualified to take them. However, digital reporters are also trying to replace stenographic court reporters. Ultimately, the last and best branch of stenography to be in is real-time court reporting. If you aim as a student to become a real-time court reporter, you'll have a better likelihood of career longevity. I know a guy who became a cart captioner in addition to being a court reporter to help him develop his abilities for real-time court reporting. That's a good strategy. I've read about a stenographer who was all 3, a broadcast captioner, a court reporter, and a cart provider, all at one time or another. That's pretty amazing to be able to do all 3. The expert at anything was once a beginner. And now, if you're a beginner, don't compare your year 1 to someone else's 10th year and feel like you'll never get there. This channel shares all the strategies so that you might even get there faster than the expert who was a beginner receiving much more random guidance. I wish there were a channel made by a court reporter that would tell me how to navigate being a beginner again as I look to adding remote deposition reporting to my plate and climbing from one branch of the stenographic tree to another. There is no such thing yet. The court reporters are all swamped with their work and busy beyond imagination. They work late into the night, sometimes even pulling all-nighters. So maybe nobody has time to make a YouTube channel.
Okay, so that's a little visit back in time to when I was a student and beginning to learn stenography. Good memories, good times, and it's been a great journey. Happy practicing, everybody.